Hello, Medicare Adventures! Welcome! My name is Chris Tucker, your Medicare guide, and I am here today to be able to take you on your next step of your Medicare journey together. So, today, the question we are going to answer is, what drugs are covered under Part B, as in Bayou, compared to Part D, as in Dingo? So let's take a look at that, because there are some specific drugs that are not covered under the Part D formulary. Now, just as a quick recap, Part D is separate from the Part B, okay? And the Part D is your basic drug coverage. Part B is going to be the drugs that normally you would not be able to self-administer. And this would be even outside of insulin shots and things like that. So I actually have a printout of part of the Medicare.gov website where it goes over numerous examples, which I'm just going to cover a couple of examples. But in the description below of this video, there will be a link to this information. So that way you have it handy should you want to go really in depth into it. But be mindful that the basic rule of thumb of whether or not a drug would be potentially covered under Part B compared to it being covered under Part D, as in Dingo, is going to be whether or not you can self-administer the drug, or if it's a drug that is safe enough for you to be able to self-administer. So let's go over a couple different examples. One of the main examples that is very prevalent, just because it is more of a chronic condition, is cancer drugs. Those would be administered by a doctor, chemotherapy drugs, etc. Things dealing with cancer treatment. So those would be normally or usually covered under Part B. And I'm saying in very general terms because sometimes the specifics, some of them may be covered under the Part D umbrella. But, you know, again, this is just to be general rule of thumb type of thing. So you can then when you have maybe certain conditions or you have a drug that is being administered to you by a doctor, you have the indication that maybe you should ask the question of, okay, is this a Part B drug? Now, the thing with Part B drugs is that they could be covered under a co-insurance type of coverage where you pay 20% and the insurance company pays 80%. Part B does not have any sort of co-pays associated with it. That's all in the Part D, as in Dingo, portion of your Medicare coverage. Okay, so one of the first ones is chemotherapy drugs or cancer drugs. Those would be things that could be covered under Part B. Oral end-stage renal disease drugs. And so if you're on kidney dialysis and you have drugs that you need to take, even though you could take them orally and potentially self-administer them, they could be under the Part B, as in Bayou, Part B umbrella. I'll just go over a couple more of them. If you're interested in going into the in-depth list, like I said, there'll be a link. An injectable osteoporosis drugs. Again, that would be under something that maybe you would not be comfortable with being able to self-administer. There'd be some level of skill associated with this particular drug. Let's see here. Also, drugs used with an item of durable medical equipment. Medicare covers drugs infused through durable medical equipment like an infusion pump or a nebulizer if the drug used with the pump is reasonable and necessary. Okay, so that is the basic rule of thumb with a couple of examples. Like I said, if you would like to be able to get much more in depth into Part B drugs and many different examples that Medicare.gov provides, the link is below in the description for you. Thank you so much for joining me on this step of your Medicare journey with me. If this has been helpful for you or been a blessing in any way, please don't hesitate to like, share, comment, subscribe, whatever platform you may be on with me. I'm excited to be able to be shared with your family, friends, neighbors, and others, whoever you feel would be blessed to be able to have these questions answered and to be able to receive additional insight on their Medicare journey. Tally ho, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you in the next one.